All right, hey, it's Mr. Eisens here, and we're going to go over our methods of reproduction slideshow as we dive into genetics here coming up this week. So cells is over. It's time to hop into some genetics, and in order to understand genetics, we need to understand how to pass down our genes, pass down our DNA. Okay, what makes us us is our DNA. It codes for absolutely everything in our bodies, and it is very unique to every single individual, unless you're identical twins. Okay, so let's keep going. We're going to be talking about sexual versus asexual. So first, we're going to be talking about asexual. So asexual reproduction is involving one parent. Okay, asexual, one parent. Okay, it is making an exact copy of the parent, and it is a clone. Okay, the offspring and parent are genetically uniform. Okay, so this is going to be used by unicellular organisms, a lot of unicellular organisms, not all, because they're just going to be making an exact copy of themselves. Okay, it's asexual because you don't need a partner. Okay, A in front of a word means not or no. So this is not sexual reproduction. Okay, and so there's only one parent. Okay, one parent makes a clone of themselves, a copy of themselves. All right, so then you have two organisms at the end that are exactly the same genetically speaking. Okay, so this amoeba is going to reproduce asexually because it's going to make an exact copy of itself. Okay, advantages and disadvantages of asexual reproduction. Okay, so why do we care about asexual reproduction? Well, organisms that reproduce asexually, okay, they don't need to waste a lot of time. This happens very, very quickly. This is why bacteria typically opt for this type of reproduction, okay, because they're able to reproduce is really, really quickly as long as they have the resources to do so. Okay, they don't have to waste time finding a mate, and as soon as conditions are good, they can just go. Okay, you can have, and that's why you get sick very, very quickly, or you can see your food develop mold or develop different nasty things on it, because once the conditions are there and the resources are there, these organisms are reproducing. Boom, one turns into two, turns into four, turns into eight. Okay, and it just keeps going because they're all able to make a copy of themselves. And so it just keeps doubling, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. Okay, they keep reproducing. You can see how that exponentially, the population is going to go up very, very quickly. Okay, so these organisms can develop. They can't develop much variety because they're all going to be clones. So if there's one good way to deal with them, like there's an antibiotic that kills all the bacteria, they should be genetically identical. So they're all going to die to it. Okay. So that's where they're not as good and not as flexible when it comes to changing environments. Okay. So yeah, they're not going to be able to adapt very well. So asexual reproduces very quickly, but is a positive, but the negative is it can't react to changing environments very well. Okay, so let's talk about a couple different methods of asexual reproduction. These are the ones we're going to talk about: binary fission, budding, vegetative propagation, regeneration, fragmentation. Okay, a lot of them are very, very similar, but again, the moral of the story is these are cells that make a copy of themselves. That's it. All right, there's only one parent to start. There's only one parent, not two, like we're used to. Okay, so binary fission. Let me just move my my picture over. Okay, this type is for prokaryotes. This is going to be our organisms without nucleuses, and we're typically talking about bacteria in this one. Okay, so they're going to replicate their DNA, and then all they're going to do is split the cell. Split the cell. So they're going to be genetically identical at the end, okay? And they just have to copy their DNA over, and then they're just going to split the cell. That's it. So this is how bacteria reproduce very, very quickly. All right, let's talk about budding. Okay, budding is really interesting because it's a slightly different. Okay, so in budding, an organism develops an outgrowth or a bud. Okay, so this is our bud that is being developed over here. Our bud that is being developed, and then it transforms into a daughter cell. Okay, the organism remains attached as it grows, separating the parent organism only when it is mature. So Hydra and yeast are going to do this, but basically they're going to make copies of their genetic information. They're going to move it into the new cell, and as soon as it matures and develops all the organism or all the organelles that it needs or everything that it needs to survive, then it's going to split off. Okay, whereas in the example of binary fission, okay, back here we made a copy of the DNA and then we just split it down the middle. We're going to make a copy of the DNA, allow that bud to kind of get its feet wet, kind of survive for a little bit, and then we're going to cut it off, okay, as soon as it's mature and ready to go. All right, regeneration and fragmentation. This is where we're talking about starfish regenerating their limbs. Okay, fragmentation is when the organism splits into fragments, and each fragment grows into complete individual organisms. Okay, they're clones again. So again, the starfish, when it breaks off, it's going to regenerate this limb, but this broken piece is also going to regenerate a starfish. Okay, so they're both going to regenerate. They're going to be exact clones of one another, and that's how they're going to reproduce. Okay, let's go to, so we got our examples here with pictures. Okay, binary fission, we're just going to just branch off and have two organisms right away. Budding, we're going to let that thing mature. It's still going to be attached for a long time. And then fragmentation, it just is any piece of it breaks off, it's able to split into two. Okay, so let's keep going. Vegetative propagation. So here we're talking about, this is basically the plant version of regeneration or fragmentation, excuse me. And so these plants are going to reproduce asexually, produce new plants from parts of the original plant. Okay, so leaves, stems, roots are going to be able to reproduce. So with this strawberry, okay, as long as you have some of the roots, okay, you can still have another strawberry plant. Or if you cut off a piece of the strawberry plant, it's still able to reproduce. All right, so this is going to work with tubers, bulbs, shoots, and runners. Okay, and they're going to, if you just have a piece of the plant, it can kind of regenerate the entire plant. All right. All right, sexual reproduction. Now we're talking about two parents. Okay, so we got two parents. You got the mom and you got the dad. Okay, and they're going to come together to make offspring. Okay, so we have genetic material coming from mom. We have genetic material coming from dad, and they're going to combine to make offspring that are part of mom and part of dad. Okay, so we got our cute kittens and our dogs. Okay, I love labs. They're pretty awesome. Let's get into it. So this one, again, requires two parents. Typically, we talk about the male providing the sperm and the female providing the egg. Okay, the egg and the sperm form to make the zygote is what it is called. Okay, having the zygote is super, super important because that's a new offspring. Okay, you got half your DNA from mom, half from dad. They make a zygote. That's a new offspring. Okay, genetically new organism because it's not just mom or just dad. It's a combination of both. Okay, it's new. All right, so it's formed because you have half from each parent. Okay, the offspring are genetically different. They're diverse is the word that we're going to use, diverse. Okay, and because they're diverse, okay, they are going to be all be different. So they're going to have different strengths. Okay, when we talk about sexual reproduction, you cannot talk about it without meiosis. Meiosis is how we create the egg and the sperm cells. Okay, so meiosis is where we take our sex cells, or how we make our sex cells, and we're basically going to make it by breaking up parts of our DNA that we got from our mom and our dad. Okay, and it's going to wind up starting with the DNA that we got from mom and dad. We're going to cross over a bit so we get different combinations of each. So we don't pass on, basically it would be grandma and grandpa's genes identically. We just take parts of each, and then we're going to split them until we have half of what you need to make a human. Okay, hence we call it haploid. Okay, these cells are haploid because they have half the genes or chromosomes that you need, okay? Because you get the other half from the other parent, all right? So again, these would become our sperm cells or our egg cells. All right, let's keep on going. All right, fertilization to create diverse offspring. This is super, super nice. Okay, during fertilization, we get 2 gametes. Okay, our gametes are going to be sperm or the egg. Those are gametes. They come together to make the zygote. Okay, sperm has half the chromosomes. Egg has the other half of the chromosomes. It gives us the full set of chromosomes. Okay, full set of DNA. All right, so in humans, we get 23 from dad, 23 from mom, and we get 46 total to make an individual. Okay, so here's just a few examples. Chromosomes are not identical in each organism, and really the amount of chromosomes doesn't mean how smart you are or complex you are. It's just kind of a number. Okay, it's not anything super crazy. All right, but kangaroos only have 16. Humans have 46 because you get 23 from each parent, but elephants have 56. Okay, so it changes depending on the organism. All right. Sexual reproduction in plants, okay, they do the same process. They're going to get sperm and egg, but they just have different parts than mammals do. Okay, so sexual reproduction in plants, they're going to have anthers, which are the male organs. Okay, they're going to produce the sperm, and instead of calling it sperm, we call it pollen. Okay, so the pollen is going to be the male gamete. It's going to be the sperm of the flowers of the plants, okay, and that is transferred to the anthers, which the female organs, either by wind or by animals. Typically, you see bugs or bees are going to do this. They're going to land on flowers. They're going to get that pollen all over them, and then they go to another flower, and then now the flower can make seeds because it's going to have pollen from another flower. So you got pollen, and then you have the egg, and the egg gets fertilized, and then you can have seeds, okay, because then a new plant can be formed. Okay, advantages of sexual reproduction. Okay, sexual reproduction allows you to have a greater chance of variation. Having variation and being diverse, like humans, okay, everyone has certain strengths, everyone has certain weaknesses. And so people or other organisms are able to, use different strengths to survive in different environments. Okay, so if a disease is made or comes into a population, not everyone will be susceptible like a bacteria would be because they all have the same DNA. A part of the population would be susceptible, but the other part of the population would be able to survive because they all have different DNA, and they wouldn't all die to the same disease. Okay, so anytime there's change in environment, it really, really helps to be an organism that can reproduce sexually because your diverse DNA that you have. Okay, and negative would be we have to spend time and energy finding a suitable mate, and so we wind up wasting a lot of time, organisms that reproduce sexually, finding a mate that we want to use our energy on, okay, to spend time on. We only have a certain amount of time on this earth, okay? And so it takes a lot of energy. So comparisons, our last slide here. Okay, asexual, 1 parent, sexual, 2 parents. Okay, asexual makes a clone of that 1 parent, so they all have the same DNA. Sexual, we have 2 parents. They're going to each give half of their DNA to their offspring, okay, resulting in genetically diverse offspring. So the kid is not going to look just like dad or just like mom. It's going to look like a combination of both, okay? And then the negative of asexual is you don't have any genetic variety, but you can reproduce very, very quickly when you have the opportunity. Whereas it takes a long, 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 long time for asexual or sexual reproducing organisms to reproduce, because you got to find a suitable mate that you actually want to mate with, and then it takes a while and a lot of energy to find that mate. So it just takes a long time. So growing a population very quickly makes it tough. Okay, guys, that's all I got for this one. I'll see you later. Peace.